Hello friends, you're with the Lonesome Gamer, and today I'm playing Dungeon Universalis. Now, in the intro video, the last one for this, I just showed you all the components that came with this, and now we're gonna go to the first mission of the campaign. But before we really start, I just want to show you the heroes we're going to use. And so there are a couple of restrictions when it comes to the I already said that the combinations of the different races and the classes. For example, most of them I think are just a gameplay thing. It doesn't make a lot of sense if you have an ogre who has an intelligence of 1 and you want to make him a sorcerer who heavily relies on intelligence. So therefore this is definitely not recommended. But this is not the only restriction. Also, it is recommended that your heroes have, or that a party has at least one of each main type of class. So there are 3 main types of classes. There are the fighters, there are the explorers, and the spellcasters. So I don't know, a fighter is, for example, I guess a warrior or a barbarian. Explorers could be rangers and scouts, for example, or and spellcasters, yeah, for example, a sorcerer and a necromancer. I mean, I told you already there are about 20 or 25 classes, and they can be, each of this class belongs to one of these 3 major classes then again. And it is, as I said, recommended to have at least one of each of the classes. So I'm going to play a 3-player game, which means I'm going to have a fighter, this is this guy here, an explorer, and a spellcaster. In addition to that, it is recommended that good and evil races do not play together in a single party. So some of the races are in general good, for example dwarfs or elves, while others are in general bad. I guess demons are bad, for example. There are also neutral races like the humans, and this is exactly our group here. We have a dwarf, warrior, and we use the pre-designed characters just to make it a little easier. And we have a pretty standard group here. I mean, they are not crazy guys or something, not terribly exciting combinations. We simply have a dwarf warrior called Thorondin. We have an elf witch huntress called Iniel, and we have a human sorceress called Malice. And we're going to go through these different characters, and I try to show you, well, all their items and abilities and so on. So first let's take a closer look at one of these pre-designed heroes. I already showed you here in the back. There's a nice little picture, and this is then the front side. So here on top you got name, race, and class, and these here are the attributes of the character. And we got here, this is movement, this is combat, I think, combat skill or melee, This is strength. Here we have shooting. And this here is armor. Now, it is possible that there are two values, and the value on the left would then be the natural armor, so simply the body armor, and then the next one would be the actual armor when he is wearing some type of armor. Now this here, that indicates the agility. This is intelligence, this is the mana, this is courage, and this is vitality, or life points, basically. Okay, this here on the left, where there's nothing, which most characters have nothing here, this is dexterity, and this is perception. And down here we have the different items he starts with, and also the skills, and this is pretty much everything. Here we have the weight that he carries and the weight he can carry. That depends on the strength, I think. I'm not totally sure about that, to be honest, how that last value, the stuff he can carry, is actually determined. Technically he could carry more, but then he gets some penalties. Oh, and there's another value here, that is fortune. And we're going to get to this a little later. And this one, I got no idea what that is. I don't know what that means. Well, it has no value in here. I don't know what that is. Okay. So let's take a closer look now at the dwarf race here, because as I already said, every character is basically a combination between a race and a class or a profession. And now if you take a look at this, you can see that I'm not sure about the character creation. I haven't done that yet, so I don't exactly how it works. But what I do know is this indicates the minimum points that a dwarf always will have in movement, and this is the maximum points. So there is not such a big range here. Fighting is 3 to 5, for example, and you can never improve beyond that. If you have a movement of 5, that's it. It's gonna not get better. The card says, slow but loyal, brave and very tough. They begin with the skills tough, hatred towards orcs and goblins, and skilled hands. Okay, now these skills are all placed here, and we're gonna get through them in a minute. Okay, this is his profession card, and yeah, the warrior. Now these upper symbols determine how easy it is for him to learn new skills. This indicates which, well, that is basically just a symbol of his profession. So red determines that he's a fighter. I mentioned the main classes before, and this red circle simply shows that it's the class of a fighter. And then we have here, begins with the skill hardened. The first increase of melee or shooting, he must choose one of the two increases, requires 1 less point than usual, and any increase of intelligence require 1 more point than usual. Okay, so these are the class and profession limits and advantages. And now let's take a closer look at the items. Oh, well, maybe we should first look at the skills. So, As a dwarf, he has skilled hands, and that simply means a character gets +1 to dexterity, and his basic skill is 0. Every character's basic skill is 0, and you can never improve dexterity. So the only way to improve that, or you can never improve it directly. The only way to improve that is by getting additional skills. This one here is tough. Character gets a +1 whenever he rolls to avoid the conditions stunned, diseased, or poisoned. He also gets a +1 to his recovery rolls during the recovery phase. His natural armor is increased by 1 against poisons, diseases, and extreme environmental conditions. So we got to remember that. I hope I can. Hardened. That is, I think, a fighter skill. Okay. So it says characters covered with scars. Whenever he loses 1 or more life points as a result of melee or ranged attacks, he must roll 1d6. On a result of 4+, the damage is reduced by 1. That seems pretty strong to me. And the last one is this hatred towards, and I think it was orcs and goblins if I'm not mistaken. The character hates those specific characters. While fighting against them, a character gets a +1 bonus to his courage and may reroll melee hitting rolls with a result of 1, except in case of a critical failure. Okay. So these are his skills, and can already see it's a little tricky when you play solitaire with 3 or 4 characters and you try to remember all this stuff. I'm going to try my best here. So there we go. This space here would be for pets or mercenaries, so there are none here. This is mana, nope. No wounds until now. This here is the fortune. So fortune points are the main difference between characters, between heroes and enemy characters. What is very interesting in this game, usually when in other games, I don't know, the heroes have something like 10 life points and an enemy maybe 2 or 3. And very often they are also weaker, and yeah, so it's, except maybe a boss or so, but usually the heroes are simply much stronger than enemies. In this game, this is not the case. You can take, for example, I don't know, let's take one of these cards, the human bandit. He's not very good. I mean, this is really one of the weak creatures. But you can see his movement, his melee. Okay, he's not a good melee guy. This is a pretty bad creature in general, but he still has 4 life points, for example. He's got a fairly high intelligence. He's as agile as this guy is. And he even has some skills. He's a dirty fighter. He has the ambush skill. So all these skills that these guys have, the enemies might also have them. And the weapons, for example, this guy may have an axe exactly like him. So there is no, or he may also have a mace exactly like this guy. There are not that many differences. I mean, technically, I think you might as well play as a human bandit. Or one guy could play... I mean, yeah, I think that could be totally possible, that you play as a bandit and take that as a pre-designed hero, for example. That could be an option, I guess. There are not many things that are not the fortune points. that's probably the main issue. These guys don't have fortune points. And that is the difference. What does that mean? Well, first of all, when you take a fatal hit, or when you have a fatal result, you can spend your fortune point to try to mitigate that. And if that first try didn't work, you can spend a second fortune point, and then this result will not apply. So as long as you have 2 fortune points, you cannot die in this game. You're always safe here. And the other option to use fortune points is you can spend a fortune points to force the reroll of a die. So if I made a bad roll, I can reroll it, or if some enemy who's fighting against me does a roll that would hurt me a lot, I can simply spend a fortune and re-roll all the dice of that roll. However, I can only do it once. So I have to accept the second result. And I can never re-roll a blunder. So a double 1, in many tests, if you roll, you have to roll 2 dice, and a double 1 is a blunder, and you cannot re-roll that. Okay, so, and this guy has a fortune of 5, as indicated here in this circle on the left. In addition, he's got a chainmail. That gives him an armor of 2. However, it's a heavy armor, and he can he loses 1 movement point, 1 agility, 1 shooting, 1 perception, and 1 dexterity. That's pretty bad. There go the skilled hands are basically neutralized by the heavy armor. He's got a mace, and yeah, that is also -1 to users' melee ability. Equal or smaller sized targets are stunned in case of critical hit. We'll see what that means. An axe, -1 to users' strength again, or to users not strength, combat ability. So he has these weapons that are a little difficult to handle. Then he's got a rope here. +1 to users' agility while climbing. May be used to build a footbridge in combination with 1 pickaxes, which he doesn't have. May be used to help other characters jump over or climb out of pits. It breaks in case of critical failure. If broken while helping a larger character out of a pit, users falls in it too. Okay. Then we got the healing herbs, and we have those twice. During an exploration turn, an action may be used to use them. User recovers 1d3 life points and removes the condition diseased. Okay. So, I don't want to talk too much about these about these cards, not go into too much detail. This symbol here on the right shows how many hands you need to handle this thing. So we got here the 2 hands, and this guy has the mace in one hand, the axe in the other hand. Still, he can only use 1 weapon during an attack, so it's not such a big advantage here. But he could, for example, also use a shield in one hand, and in the other hand he could have the mace. Down here, this is the weight. So this has a weight of 2, and this is the price of the item, 3 coins. And as we already said, he is carrying 14 out of 18 he can carry. Now just let's quickly if that's true. So this is 5 here, and no, that's not true. That is 4. This is the weight here, 4. That is 6, 8, and that is 14. So that is correct. The chainmail is obviously really heavy. Oh, and I nearly forgot. He has one of these background cards. So let's go through this. So this guy, Thorondin. Thorondin was born and raised in the mountains of Arkad, beyond the Stone Lagoon. He belonged to the Hamilbarf clan, who had been expert craftsmen and blacksmiths for generations. However, when he turned 30, he decided to start learning weapons and to take part in the War of the Roots, which took the lives of several of his older brothers. When the truce of the clans was reached, Thorondin chose to follow the path of arms. He traveled to Bibal, and there he began a life as a mercenary until he understood that he earned little money for the service he performed. Since then, he prefers to be one who makes his own decisions and takes his own paths. Okay, nice. So, the guy is a blacksmith. I think usually that is not possible in the game. This is a very specific ability that comes only with these character cards. So, that is only possible for these pre-designed characters. Before devoting himself to the handling of weapons, he learned the trade of blacksmith. For this reason, Thorondin can repair a weapon at no cost each time he visits a blacksmith's workshop. Okay. And then we got special object, Water of Life. A gift from a Camarine come from distant Menon. This flask allows you to remove the knocked out condition from a character or pet fallen during a quest or an epic event. One use only. Okay, so that can be very valuable, I guess. Okay, so and this guy has a fortune of 5, as indicated here in this circle on the left. In addition, he's got a chainmail. That gives him an armor of 2. However, it's a heavy armor, and he loses 1 movement point, 1 agility, 1 shooting, 1 perception, and 1 dexterity. That's pretty bad. Like all the skilled hands are basically neutralized by the heavy armor. He's got a mace, and yeah, that is also -1 to users' melee ability. Equal or smaller sized targets are stunned in case of critical hit. We'll see what that means. An axe, -1 to users' strength again, or to users, not strength, combat ability. So he has these weapons that are a little difficult to handle. Then he's got a rope here. +1 to users' agility while climbing. May be used to build a footbridge in combination with 1 pickaxes, which he doesn't have. May be used to help other characters jump over or climb out of pits. It breaks in case of critical failure. If broken while helping a larger character out of a pit, users falls in it too. Okay. Then we got the healing herbs, and we have those twice. During an exploration turn, an action may be used to use them. User recovers 1d3 life points and removes the condition diseased. Okay. So, I don't want to talk too much about these whole about these cards, not go into too much detail. This symbol here on the right shows how many hands you need to handle this thing. So we got here the 2 hands, and this guy has the mace in one hand, the axe in the other hand. Still, he can only use one weapon during an attack, so it's not such a big advantage here. But he could, for example, also use a shield in one hand, and in the other hand he could have the mace. Down here, this is the weight. So this has a weight of 2, and this is the price of the item, 3 coins. And as we already said, he is carrying 14 out of 18 he can carry. Now just let's quickly, if that's true. So this is 5 here, and no, that's not true. That is 4. This is the weight here, 4. That is 6, 8, and that is 14. So that is correct. The chainmail is obviously really heavy. Oh, and I nearly forgot, he has one of these background cards. So let's go through this. So this guy, Thorondin. Thorondin was born and raised in the mountains of Arkad, beyond the Stone Lagoon. He belonged to the Hamilbarf clan, who had been expert craftsmen and blacksmiths for generations. However, when he turned 30, he decided to start learning weapons and to take part in the War of the Roots, which took the lives of several of his older brothers. When the truce of the clans was reached, Thorondin chose to follow the path of arms. He traveled to Bibal, and there he began a life as a mercenary until he understood that he earned little money for the service he performed. Since then, he prefers to be one who makes his own decisions and takes his own paths. Okay, nice. So, the guy is a blacksmith. I think usually that is not possible in the game. This is a very specific ability that comes only with these character cards. So that is only possible for these pre-designed characters. Before devoting himself to the handling of weapons, he learned the trade of blacksmith. For this reason, Thorondin can repair a weapon at no cost each time he visits a blacksmith's workshop. Okay. And then we got special object, Water of Life. A gift from a Camarine, come from distant Menon. This flask allows you to remove the knocked out condition from a character or pet fallen during a quest or an epic event. One use only. Okay, so that can be very valuable, I guess. So let's take a look at Iniel, the elf witch hunter. Well, as we can expect for an elf, she's fast, solid fighting capabilities, low strength, very good shooting, not a great armor, solid fortune with 5, high agility, good intellectual capacities, and high courage, and well, the vitality is okay. It could be worse, but it's not great either. She's got a leather armor, dagger, handgun, crossbow, poison flask, and healing potion. And she has the skill of taming animals, and she begins with an owl. So let's take a look here at the race card. I'm not going to go too much into detail about this anymore. Outstanding agility and speed, skillful with both melee and ranged weapons, great potential as spellcasters. They begin with the skill Sharp Senses. That is very helpful. And Witch Hunter. So this this dark square indicates this profession as an explorer. So it begins with the skills Hunter and hatred towards the underworld. The first increase of shooting requires 1 less point than usual. Begins each quest with a holy water special object, which may be used only by himself. Can use any throwing weapons and only arquebus, crossbow, handgun, or crossbow pistol as ranged weapons. Superstitious. Character can't use any magic objects other than magic weapons or armors. Can't use any potions other than healing ones or poisons. And she can't wear heavy armor or equip shields. So there are quite some restrictions for witch hunters, it seems. Oh, actually I forgot the miniatures. Now I'm going to use miniatures from other games as also suggested by the designers. And this is the dwarf. This is Thorondine. So this is the guy from, oops, here's the back. So this is the guy from Talisman, by the way. That's the dwarf character from Talisman. And the witch huntress here, this is my character here. And I think, I'm pretty sure she's from Runebound. Yeah, I think she's from Runebound. I mixed up a couple of my miniatures, but I think she's from Runebound. So let's see what her equipment is. She's got leather armor. Gives a +1. -1 to user's agility. A crossbow. We go into the damage and all that it does later. So no penalty to... that's about the armor. So yeah, that's a crossbow. It's a two-handed ranged weapon basically, and it has to be reloaded, which is not that great. Let's take a look at the skills here. Hunter gets a +1 to perception, which is very important. Sharp senses, another +1 to perception because she's an elf. That's fantastic. You will see later why perception is such an important thing. Hatred towards the underworld. Character hates characters with the skills undead or underworld. While fighting against them, character gets a +1 bonus to his courage and may reroll melee hitting rolls with a result of 1. Additional, he may reroll failed rolls when using holy water. And then we got the taming animals skill here. Characters with this skill can acquire an animal for half the usual price when they visit a canal and breeding ground. Additionally, they get +1 persuasion on intelligence rolls against animals with intelligence 2 or lower. Okay, so great. Then she's got a handgun. Well, that's a one-handed shooting weapon, can be shot at an adjacent target, ignores blocking with shields, can be shot by knockdown, deals 1 damage die to user in case of a critical failure. Okay, she's got a poison flask, single use, apply the cutting or stabbing weapon, apply it to a cutting or stabbing weapon. As soon as you wound an opponent, they will be stunned and take 2 extra damage dice against natural armor. We got a dagger. We could combine this, I guess. -1 to user's combat ability, reduces target's armor by 1 if he is attacked from behind or knocked down. No penalty for drawing, can be used as a throwing weapon. So we got the holy water. Throwing weapon can't be recovered after use. Target and adjacent characters with the skill, I don't know what that, underworld or undead suffers 4 damage dice. Ignores the skill invulnerable. And here we have a healing potion. User recovers up to 4 life points, also removes the condition diseased, poisoned and stunned. Finally, we got an owl. That does look, it looks a little like an owl. So, let's see. Yeah, I mean, she basically works, or she is a character. And an ally or pet is also a character. So the owl has the same, it has the same abilities as any other character. So movement, if it walks on the ground, it's very slow, obviously. Combat ability, very low strength, low armor, quite agile, not very clever, and low vitality or vitality. It has claws and skills and notes. So it's a flying creature, 12. So it can fly 12 spaces. Sharp senses, small, not affected by complete darkness. Has no melee range. It can fly in indoor sections, but only half of its movement capacity. Okay. So this is the owl. And it can use claws. And, well, I don't want to go into too much detail here, but it has some kind of weapon. But this thing is not made for fighting. In general, it will help us with my perception because it has the sharp senses, which I also have. So basically, I simply get another +1 to perception. That is the main advantage of the owl. Okay, we got a human sorcerer, Malice. And, well, quite fast, solid melee capabilities, low strength, not good at shooting, little armor. That is a solid agility, high intelligence. This is the mana value, 8. Not too much courage and kind of an average vitality. She has more fortune than the others. She's got 6. So she does tribal magic and she has 4 random spells. She has a staff, 2 healing herbs, a mana potion, Greek fire, magic scroll, and components for magic. And as a skill, she's an experienced wizard. Okay. So let's have a closer look at the human race. And let's hope we're not too shocked about it. So yeah, again, I don't want to go into this too much. Here, versatile and balanced. They begin with a skill lost in the dark and 1 more skill at the player's choice. Depending on the class chosen, they may learn the skill lycanthropy. In that case, they lose 2 fortune points. Okay, and she's a sorcerer. So we have 2 advantages and tons of disadvantages, but let's see. So she begins with the skill Herbalist, and here you can see this blue triangle indicates it's a spellcaster class. She begins with 8 mana points and 4 random spells from one of the following lores: witchcraft or tribal magic. When character gets to know all the spells from the chosen lore, he may start learning basic spells from the other lore above and also from the lore of fire. Okay. So as a sorcerer, you have -1 to dispelling, -1 to combat agility. Any increase of Strength, vitality, and shooting require 1 more point than usual. He can only be armed with daggers, staffs, or magical swords. And he can't wear any armor or shield. Okay, so there are lots of limits here. Now, one thing I'm not certain about. With the pre-designed character, now I could go through the character creation and maybe kind of, you know, try to recreate that character, but I find that a little too complicated right now. It says -1 to combat ability, and the guy here has, or the lady has, a combat ability of 4. Now I think that this modifier here is already implemented in this card here. So I'm going to say that she has actually a combat ability of 4. And yeah, because usually these cards show the characters when they start, I guess. It says -1 to dispelling. There is no dispelling value here, so therefore it is basically an action. So I have to apply the dispelling penalty when I do this action, but during melee, I think I'm simply go with the number that is written here. And let's check out her background card. And by the way, she didn't have a background card. I already told in the intro that not all the characters have a background card, which I find odd. I hope there are no cards missing. That was actually mentioned in the rules that some do and some don't. So this is Malice. Malice the Witch is the daughter of a family of, what is it? Hunters from the Dwarf forest. Since she was a child, she showed a predilection for occultism and the dark sciences. She had an innate talent for channeling supernatural powers and using them against those who tried to hurt her. Malice started working as a seer in a room rented from an innkeeper. During the spring and summer nights, she sneaks into the nearby woods and groves to secretly practice black magic with the help of a local witch. Her greatest aspiration is to be named Queen of Witches, although she knows she needs lots of practice and experience to do so. When the time comes, she will know, and she'll visit the place where that title will be granted to her. And I could imagine that there might be somewhere in the special quests for heroes, maybe there is a quest for her, and maybe that will be then the goal of the quest, to get that title. That would be cool. So we get a character trait, friendly to witches. Malice can roll 1d6 whenever a travel event, which includes witches, is drawn. On a result of 3+, the event may be ignored. And, well, a little misprint here. Ritual staff. When Malice uses his staff, she gets a +1 to dispelling against the laws of witchcraft and necromancy. Okay, so this is a special staff. I guess this is this staff, and we're not going to use this staff. It's a little odd, but yeah, I think this is the special staff here. Okay, one thing I just have to mention, you know, I mean, we're living in, I mean, look at that. Come on, right? I mean, we're living in 2021, and they really come up with naked witches running through dungeons. I don't know. I find that a little ridiculous, but okay. And we have a miniature that actually fits well here, or matches well. So this is an Amazon from Talisman, and we're going to use her as our sorceress. So let's take a look here at her skills or penalties. Now she is a human, therefore she's lost in the dark. -1 to all attributes except armor, vitality and mana while in a section under the effects darkness or complete darkness. -1 to shooting at enemies in a dark section, even if shooters are in a well-illuminated area themselves. And that's a little odd. She's an experienced wizard. I mean, I think her backstory kind of explains that. She already practiced in the woods and all that. So, character may reroll failed intelligence rolls when casting spells, except in case of critical failure, which can never be rerolled. This skill may only be used once per game. Now, I guess with game they mean quest. I'm pretty sure you don't have to discard this skill when you used it. I think they mean quest. That is not clear from the rules, but I'm pretty sure that's what they're talking about here. I wonder if that... No, I think this is the only time when I've seen that here. So, no pets. She's got 8 mana points. She's got 6 fortune points, oh, quite a few. No armor. She has that special staff. And she can't, it's a one-handed weapon, but she can use it with 2 hands, dealing 1 more damage die. However, if you want to cast spells, you need a free hand. So right now she wears it in one of her hands. She's got a lot of small items. She's got the Greek fire, the throwing weapon. Target and adjacent squares suffer 3 fire damage dice as soon as it is thrown, but also at the end of the turn. Okay, may be used to remove all kinds of vermin. She's got healing herbs, we already know that. 1d3 recovery of health points. The healing potion, up to 4 health points. A magic scroll, only for spellcasters with mana, +2 to casting or dispelling spells. If the roll is successful, the scroll is discarded and the user pays the usual mana for that spell. And then she's got the components for magic, +2 to casting spells, only 1 can be used per spell. Now here's the thing. Usually I find the rules are really good. They are written very well. You will see the game has many options, and it is obvious that not everything can be covered by the rules. But even for these problems, there are rules how to solve them. But this is actually a very standard thing that is not covered by the rules, because they probably think it's the standard thing. It is not clearly written if modifiers are actually applied before or after the roll. So for example, in Flying Frog games, you could play this thing after the test. If you fail a test, you can play this, and then you get a +2 to casting spells. I think this is not the case here, but it is nowhere written from what I see. I've checked the rules more than once. I couldn't find it. There are examples and so on that implicate that it is not possible that that you can do this after the roll, but that you have to do it before the roll. And basically in every game, except for the Flying Frog games, you have to do these modifiers. You have to play. You have to apply all the modifiers before you make the roll. So I'm going to play it that way here. I'm pretty sure it works that way. But it's kind of odd that it's not written in the rules. could argue it is also a card like this kind of implies this, because here it says it gives you a +2 to casting or dispelling spells, and then if the roll is successful, the roll is discarded. So here it seems, okay, you apply the modifier before, and if it works, you discard the roll, or the scroll. But yeah, this is not written here. So, but anyway, I just was looking through the rules and trying to kind of verify that, and wasn't possible for me. Okay, so, oh no, we're not done yet. Of course, she's got a couple of spells. That's the cool thing about her. So, these are random spells. There are six tribal spells, and I've drawn 4 of them randomly. And 2 of them are more, of a defensive nature, or not so much, no offensive spells, let's say it that way. So this is a war dance. All friendly characters within the spell's area of effect get a +1 to their combat skill and courage. You can see this here indicates the area of effect. It's 3 squares. It's a permanent spell. We'll see what that means a little later. And another defensive spell is this one here, arrows. What arrows? Excuse me. Caster can only target himself. Caster and all friendly characters within the spell's AoE get a +1 to natural armor against non-magic projectiles. So again, 3 here is the area of effect. And then we got the offensive spells of her. This is the brain damage. And choose a target and roll 5 damage d6. Every result equal to or greater than the target's intelligence deals 1 damage. If a target loses 1 or more vitality, he gets stunned. Okay. And this is the brutal one, and it's an advanced spell. You can see it here on the top right. This is the mana cost. This is the mana sign here, so the mana symbol. So this is the cost she has to pay for the spell. All the others only cost 1. So these are the basic spells, and this is an advanced spell. Choose a target. Target and all characters in adjacent squares suffer 5d6 damage against natural armor. Before rolling for damage, roll 1d6. In a result of 1, the caster will be instead the target. So there's quite a risk involved, but it's a very powerful spell. If you're lucky, you can kill a weak boss monster with that spell, with just 1 spell. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so now that we know our characters, and it's not, as I said, it's not the most exciting party. You have these very standard guys, a dwarf warrior, an elf, a human, not very, I don't know, let's say, no trolls or vampires or whatever. These are pretty much standard groups, but I want to keep it simple for my first game or my longer game, my first campaign. Don't want to make crazy experiments at the beginning when I start this. So yeah, I think we're going to go into the first scenario, the first quest, and that is a very, very basic quest. So I'm gonna do the setup and then explain a little more about it. So let's take a look at the starting conditions of this campaign. I've already showed the map of the world of Araskar, or a small part of it. Now, the evil in this campaign is sitting here in the southeast, of course, where famous evil lingers, and yeah, I guess mountains of doom, so definitely not a coincidence here. But We start the campaign down here in the southwest in Verneck. And just want to get into the introduction here. So I'm going to read the background story. You are in one of the many taverns that flourish in Verneck. Since the city is home to a multitude of merchants, it has become a bustling place where travelers of all races and places from all over the world converge. Trade attracts money, and money attracts adventurers, thieves, and bounty hunters. The city remains a pigsty surrounded by a low stone wall, and its suburbs extend into the outskirts, merging with spaces dedicated to orchards and farms. New stone houses are hardly being erected because most of those who spend the night are passing through. The inhabitants of the city are still suspicious of foreigners in just the same way as when the city had barely any movement. The eternal rivalries between Alania's nobles still persist. It has always been a troubled region, perhaps because it is located as a crossroads, or because of the balance of forces among the different noble houses. After the independence of Pulse, internal quarrels and disputes returned. Now the governor of Vernex suspects that the count of the neighboring region of Aitania is hiring bandits to assault the caravans of merchants crossing the Azdurak. Now this river here is the Azdurak, and here we have a bridge. Count Resiert uses this ploy to redirect the traffic so that the merchants can divert northwards and participate in the small riverbank markets that belong to him. Hart, governor of Verneck, wants to take rough measures against his neighbor, but first he needs to confirm his suspicions. This is why he has commissioned Arthos, head of the city guard, to look for volunteers to intercept these bandits and make them confess, whether they are acting on their own or under Resiert's directives. You will be generously rewarded if you succeed in the mission. Okay, so now we know what's going on, and we're gonna set up the quest. So this is the map. It's an outdoor scenario, and I'm going to read it. Free the merchants. So, in this area of the grove, the road descends into a hollow where the leaves and branches, it's a little hard to read actually, of shrubs are piled up, dragged by the rains. It's a perfect place, sorry for the glare here, this is really hard to do, to take a false step on a hidden trap or be the victim of an ambush. The wagon of a merchant couple moves slowly. The draught horses are exhausted. They have no escort. Suddenly, the man, covered by an overcoat and a white hat, hears a cracking sound coming from one side of the road. He tells himself it's just a bird or a squirrel climbing up a tree. He looks up and detects no movement. His wife, who travels behind him, alerts him with a shriek. Several shadows appear between the tree trunks, and the first arrows whistle. The driver tries to herd the horses with the whip, but soon discovers that the road is cut by a trunk. There is no escape. Okay. Okay, so this is the situation here. Over here, we have the merchant, a cart here, back there, and the two guys in there. So this is the merchant, and this is his wife, and she's pointing in horror at one of the bandits here. So there's a guy, and he has a broadsword and a shield. And the number of bandit depends on the number of heroes. So this guy has a broadsword and a shield. This guy here is a shooter. This is a lady, actually. So that is a shooter with a short bow, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And here we have another guy with an axe, and he also has a shield, but I don't, well. Okay, so he's got a shield, and of course, not to forget, down here we have a warhound who accompanies these guys. Okay, we are back here. Now first we gotta check if this whole scenario takes place by night or day. So if we roll a 1 on a d6, it's a night scenario. Okay, that is daytime. And so this is a very, very basic scenario. It's most of the things that you have in your standard scenario do not happen here. This is just an introduction into combat, and it's going to be pretty easy to handle, I hope. We have 5 turns for the whole scenario to finish. So we have a tracker here. And there are no traps or anything. The dark player will not use any cards or whatever. The bandits also have a special target priority. They will mainly go after the merchants, and they will, to a certain point, ignore us, except when we are really engaged with them. So that, I guess that makes it easier for us then. Now, usually during a campaign, you can do a quest twice. If you failed the first time, you can try again, but you will still suffer the consequences. So for example, if a hero dies or something, you have to live with that, but you can still try the quest again, or you can simply try to flee from a dungeon and then come back again later and try again. This is not possible here. This is a one-time quest, so if we fuck this up, we cannot go back. These guys are then simply dead. We have another advantage. We can start this because the bandits are totally focused on these 2 civilians here. So yeah, we simply have the initiative, and we can start and shoot right away at the first people. So should be easy to do. And I forgot the owl. I'm gonna need a marker for the owl. I think I might actually take one of the standees for the owl because I don't have a miniature for it. So just a minute. Okay, so I'm gonna use this standee, and honestly, I usually don't like standees. So if I can avoid it, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place it like this. I mean, honestly, this one looks pretty good actually, but I'm gonna place it like this, and I'm just gonna indicate the facing is in this direction. The owl will not be of a big importance, I guess, except that it gives me a +1. So the exact location of the owl is usually not that interesting. What is important is I only get that +1 if the owl is 3 spaces in range from the owner, so from her, and she can never, or the owl, the owl can never be more than 12 spaces away from the owner. So that is what we have to remember. But in general, we can move here freely. We don't have to care about the owl back there. And okay, I think in this scenario it's not going to be terribly important where it is. So let's see. So the heroes start this adventure And what happens is, at the start of a turn, we can activate, well, we can simply activate every hero in any order we want. And I think we can also activate the owl anytime we want during this turn. And once everyone is activated, then it's the dark player's turn. At the beginning of a hero's turn, there will be a recovery phase when they can try to recover from certain conditions. Now, this is not the case here, so then we immediately go into the action phase of the heroes. And there are a ton of actions available during a game. I think there are about 25 or more actions that a hero can do. So you can always do one action, and you can do a movement. And you move up to the number of your movement points. Now, you could also run. That will cost you action. So you could, we're going to go into the running a little later, but instead of, technically, I mean, let's say it that way, it's a little bit like Dungeons and Dragons board game, so you could technically make a longer move, and then instead of doing a move and an action. There are also quick actions, and so in addition to your move and your action, you can do one quick action, or you could do a move and two quick actions. So it's getting a little confusing here, but you find out this is all not very hard to do. Basically, it's all quite standard. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to try to shoot this guy here. So I'm going to use my crossbow, and you can see here it has a huge range of 24. This left part here is that, and the guy is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces away. And you can count here diagonally, and you can also move diagonally. It's totally fine. So, well, let's try to simply do that. We have here the modifiers for shooting. I can simply do this now. Most of them I know by now. It's not that much. So it is, we're not moving. So we don't have a penalty here. Now let's check the target's agility. That is important. And for this, we need to find the cards of a human bandit. There we go. Now his agility is 3. And my agility is 5. I got a -1 because of the leather. Here. I got a -1 because of the armor, but it's still 4. So I got a higher agility, so no penalty there. I attack from the back. So that is something you should always do as a hero. Always shoot the enemy from the back. That gives you a +1, so that's pretty good. And the last thing we have to consider is the distance to the target. And it's 7 to 9 squares. So we get a -2 here, because he's fairly far away. So that means we get a +1 and a -2, so we get a -1 overall. Now, that is the modifier, -1. Now, here's how the test works. We got a shooting ability of 5. we're going to roll 2 dice. X. And we need a 10 or higher. And so we can add the shooting ability. We have to apply the modifiers. And then overall we need a 10 or higher. So wait a minute. Yeah, we got a 5 here. We got to subtract 1. So 4. So what we need to hit is a 6 with 2 dice. So I guess that looks pretty well, pretty good. And we have a 7. So great, it's a hit. Awesome. Now we can apply the damage, and you can see here this symbol here, the top, shows 4. So that's the number of dice we can roll to check for damage. And we can subtract 1 from his armor, because it's a crossbow and that's pretty dangerous. So we check his armor, and we see that here his armor is 3. Now let me see, I think the card said he had a shield, and he could use a shield to block the projectile, but not if we shoot him from behind, because he wasn't aware. So that means his armor is 3. So we roll now 4 damage dice, because that's what we have here. We can subtract 1 from the armor, so he only has an armor of 2. And for every die, oh god, we need more dice. For every die that is equal or higher to his armor, he takes a wound. Now, he only has 4 life points, meaning everything that is higher than a 1 is a wound. So if we're lucky, we might actually be able to kill him with that first shot. That looks good. We have to reroll this guy. Okay, awesome. That was easy. We did. So we did already kill him. 1 shot from behind from the elf, and we killed the first guy. And he is simply removed from the board now. So you see, this wasn't too hard. So now, after my shot, that was my action, the attack, I can still move, and I want to do that. So I got a movement value of 5. So I'm going to move 5 spaces. Where do I want to go? I probably want to move toward this guy here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to go like this. Okay. And yeah, fine. So then I think what I want to do is I want to try to hit this guy with one of my spells. And so I'm going to activate Malice. And I think actually I want to use the God Crush them, which is a pretty powerful spell. But yeah, I think I want to do that. So I got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The guy is 10 away, and that spell has a range of 12. So I could activate that. So let's see. Let's do it. I don't even have to move for that. So I got choose a target, and all characters in adjacent squares stuff of, well, first we have to be successful with the spell cast. So we have an intelligence of 5, and it's a little bit like shooting, or it's pretty much the same. We simply have to pass an intelligence test, but there are no modifiers for this. We simply have to pass the test. So we need a 5, which shouldn't be too hard. And we have that. And here we have a 6, which is a critical. So because we have that 6, we get 1 additional damage die now. Pretty cool. Okay, so let's see. Choose a target. Target and all characters in adjacent squares suffer 5d6 damage against natural armor. Before rolling for damage, roll 1d6. In a result of 1, the caster will instead be the target. Now that's the tricky part, right? If we roll a 1, we're in a lot of trouble. Okay, we didn't roll a 1. I mean, we could use our fortune for a reroll, but it's always possible to roll a 1 twice in a row. But okay, it didn't happen, so we were lucky here. And now we have to pay the mana. You have to do it after you cast the spell successfully. So we should have done it before the roll for the 1, but after the intelligence test. So we place here 2 mana, and just to indicate that we activated this. And now here's a special rule for this lady now. She is now an apprentice. You need 15 value points, and we get to the value points a little bit later, but in general, a hero starts with 10 value points. And if she earns experience and improves, then she will get additional value points. And if she has 15 value points, she will be a solid sorcerer. Right now she's only an apprentice, although she is, like this says, an experienced wizard, which is a little weird. But yeah, because she has still not enough experience, she is an apprentice. So what does that mean? Well, usually you are allowed to use every spell 3 times during a quest, as long as you have enough mana. Or up to 3 times. An apprentice may only use a spell up to 2 times. In addition, these offensive spells here, the God Crush them for example, but also the brain damage, they will do 1 less die damage. So in this case, this would only do 4d6 damage against the natural armor, but because I did a critical with I rolled a 6 when casting the spell, I will get 1 more die. So overall, it's again 5d6. Now let's see the natural armor of these guys. But this is a shooter, so we need another card. This one here, this is the shooter. So the natural armor of this guy is 3. And that means every roll of 3 or higher is a success. And he only has 4 life points. So again, we have good odds of killing him. Let's see. Well, that was bad. Now what we can do, and I think I want to do it because there is no reason not to, I'm going to spend a fortune point and re-roll that. Usually, if you spend fortune points, it gives the dark player an advantage. But because in this game, the achievement points are not tracked, it doesn't matter. We can simply spend the fortune points. So I'm going to do that. These were 3 points, by the way. I still have 2 left. And I'm simply going to re-roll all dice. Maybe I'm lucky. Still not quite. I did 3 damage, which is pretty good, but it's not enough to kill him. Now you always have to accept the second result when you use a fortune point, so it wasn't quite enough. I'm simply staying there. I don't want a ton of trouble, so I'm staying here for now. I don't move. So I got 1 more action with this guy here. So one thing I want to show you, we have here these bestiary cards, and you can see these bestiary cards are divided into different factions. So these are the bandits, and you have a little bit of a background story here, and then you can see that basically all the cards needed if you fight against bandits are, I don't know, overall maybe 10 cards or something. And you don't have to go through all the deck to find the card. You just take the cards of this faction and they will then cover everything you need. So that is very, very useful. So this is the Warhound here, and I want to attack him with the Dwarf. So we move down here 1, 2, 3 spaces, and actually I think I'm going to do it 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. I'm going to go here, and usually it's not allowed. They say it's a bit like chess. You're not allowed to take back some moves, but I'm at the very beginning, so I think it's okay to do that now. So I didn't, and in chess you can actually move until you and take back the move until you leave the piece on the board. So if you take away your fingers, that's when it counts. And I didn't do that with the bandit, with the dwarf. So the thing is, I have an advantage because I'm now standing behind the dog, and that gives me an advantage too when I fight this guy. Okay, so now I'm attacking, and so let me see. Am I going to use the mace or the axe? He's got it. I think I'm going to use the axe. It does a little more damage. So let's see. Melee attacks work different because here you have an opposed roll. So both characters fight against each other, different to your spells or to your ranged attacks where just one person shoots. Here, both characters fight. So we need 2 dice on every side this time. And what we do is we compare the result of a roll modified with the melee value of the characters. So this guy, for example, has a melee value of 5. And I think this is pretty much it. And then a -1 because of the axe. So he only has a 4. So we can roll the die. We use the white dice for the good guys. And we add 4. And that is then my result. And the dog, he has also a 4. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So no modifier for the dog here. So yeah, the high roller simply wins, and if I'm successful, the dwarf wins this, he will do damage. If he loses, nothing's going to happen. There is no effect then, because he's the attacker. Oh, okay. Oh, that's not okay. That is definitely not a win for the dwarf. So yeah, but there is no consequence here. And oh, I forgot. Actually, we should have gotten a +1 modifier. I think because I was attacking from behind. I'm pretty sure there are the modifiers. Yeah, attack from the back, but didn't matter because, yeah, that was definitely not enough. Okay, so this is the end of my turn now. Well, actually it's not quite over yet. I can still control these 2 guys, and I think I'm going to try to run away. Now, the problem is, my plan was to kill the shooter and then run away in this direction toward the heroes. Now I got basically two choices. I could run here, try to hide behind the trees, but that will probably mean that these guys come after me and I'm still pretty far away from them. So this is, I don't know if that is such a great idea. So I'm considering actually running behind here and risking a shot from this guy. It's a little tricky, but the good thing is he will not move then, and that gives these two guys an easy option to attack him. But I'm not sure about that. So yeah, I think my goal is to do that. I'm going to take that risk. I'm gonna risk that shot. It's not great, but I'm going to try it anyway. So the woman starts running. So she has a movement of 4, as you can see here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So she moves here, and this guy moves 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's where they are, and that isn't too great here, but I think I can live with it. Is there a line of sight to this? There might be. So the problem is this guy might actually take a defensive shot if I go, let's see. So you know what? I didn't realize there was line of sight, so I'm only moving here actually, just like this. I want to avoid that this guy, no, he's not taking a defensive shot because I will not attack him. That's the thing, I forgot about that. Okay, so this is it. This is over here, and now it's these guys. And well, the target priority of this guy is the 2 merchants. So he's gonna simply move toward them. He can move 5 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's what he does. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He goes here, and that's it. That's the end for him. And now it's the shooter here, and he has line of sight on the lady, so he's going to try to shoot her. And he's got a shooting ability of 3, and well, there will be no modifiers, I guess, so he simply does that. He rolls a die, and if he rolls a 7, the lady is in trouble. And he only has a 6, so we were lucky here. He missed, and yeah, that's the end of the dark player's activation. Oh no, it's not. Actually, we still have the dark. So the dark turns around now, and he's engaged. So that means he is not allowed to run away and attack the merchants. He's engaged with the dwarves. I mean, technically you could do it, but the target priority says he's not doing it. So therefore, he will attack the dwarf. And we get another combat action. But now the dwarf, the dark, is the attacker. He's got a 4. And he can add 4. And the dwarf also can add 4. And this time, if the dark wins, the dwarf might take damage. So let's see. Okay, well, this time the dwarf wins, so no problems here. Okay, and now it's again the heroes, and well, we'll see. So first I'm going to activate her, and I'm simply going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, and I will attack now the shooter from behind. And as a quick action, before I go there, I'm going to take my handgun. Well, actually, you know, I was wrong. Yeah, I had a good range. I didn't even have to move. So okay, this time I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna simply stay here. I think I was here, wasn't I? So I'm gonna stay here and simply shoot at this guy with my handgun. So I also have to reload this thing, which isn't great, but okay. So I'm gonna use, again, shooting is 5, so let's hope for the best here. The distance is this time, it's only 4, so that means, and I still shoot him from behind. So I got a +1 modifier, and that will be equalized by the, or that will be reduced by the -1 for the distance, because if it's more than 3, you got to subtract -1. Honestly, I don't remember if she moved or not, but she moved 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think she is, did she move 5 or 6 spaces? 5, yeah, so she should be here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but that's okay anyway. So it's a -1 and the +1, so that equals each other out. So I'm going to simply roll the dice, and I'm going to need a 5 to be successful here, which I am. Again, I have a critical hit, which is awesome. So I can roll now for damage. Here we got a 3. I can reduce the armor by 1. But I'm not sure if this is actually, I think it is still possible, even if it's only natural armor. But you know what? That is actually something I want to check. So yeah, I just checked, and it seems that this armor reduction here also applies to natural armor. So therefore, I can now simply roll 4 dice because I had a critical. And I mean, this guy is basically dead. He has now only an armor of 2. So if I roll one hit, if I roll 1, 2, okay, this is, I mean, he's totally blown into pieces, and that's it. Cool. So now these guys are free to run, which is important. Then we're going to fight the dog here. And by the way, this is our second turn. We're going to fight the dog again. So let's do this. Again, I think it's simply the high roller wins. And wasn't quite good enough here. And now we got her, and I wonder if she can take care of this guy. Let me see. So I would love to use the God Crush them again, but I need line of sight on this guy, and he's standing behind that tree. So it's not that easy, actually. I think I cannot get line of sight on him, except I would be standing here or something, and this is not going to happen. So, Okay, so I'm going to use the brain damage and attack the dog instead. Got a range of 6 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's attack the dog. The brain damage is extremely powerful against the dog because he's stupid. So let's see. We gotta cast a spell, and that is only a 4. That is not good. That is not good enough to do to actually do it. But I got this experienced wizard thing, so I can once per game or per quest, I guess, I can re-roll that thing. So let's do it. And this time it's a 7, and it's even a critical. So it says choose a target, roll 5d6, and I gotta pay 1 mana for this. Okay, there you go. Choose a target, roll 5d6. Every result equal to or greater than the target's intelligence deals 1 damage. If the target loses 1 or more vitality, he gets stunned. So usually I could only roll 4 because I'm an apprentice, but I had a critical, so again I can roll 5d6. And the intelligence of this guy is 1. So basically I have 5 successes, so I don't have to roll for that. So he's dead. He only has 4 life points, so that guy is dead too. his brain just boiled away. And that's pretty much it. There's only this guy left, and we can kill him easily. So he is now, these guys are running, and yeah, they're characters, and now they're going to run, and they're going to run toward us. So if you run, you got to roll 2 dice, and if you roll a double one, it's a blunder. And then you can run only half your speed. So that would be a problem. But if they don't roll a double one, they're going to be safe. Okay, that's a 6. So that means they can now run 6 additional spaces to their to their movement value, but a maximum of the movement value. So in this case, they can only run 4 additional spaces. So you take the roll, and you could technically roll that many spaces, move that many spaces in addition, but not more than double your movement value. So that means the first lady here can run 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Awesome. And this guy here can, we will see that's a 5, so you can also run 8 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there we go. And yeah, now it's going to be very hard for this guy to reach them. Now, what's cool is, or what's good for us is, you can never run and attack, because running is an additional action to the movement. So you cannot run and attack. And so therefore, yeah, if he just follows them running, he can never attack them. So, but he's going to run anyway, because that is his goal. He wants to follow these guys, so he's going to run anyway. And that's a 3. So in this case, he can only move 8 spaces, because he has a movement value of 5. He rolled a 3, so he can only move 8 spaces. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in addition to that, you cannot enter the combat range of another character when you're running. And the combat range is, in case of the civilians, because they don't have long-ranged weapons, it is simply the adjacent spaces. So that means he cannot go there. So he's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's where he stops. Well, actually, he could move diagonally, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he can move up to, yeah, that's not an obstacle, I guess. So he moves here, and that's it. And yeah, we'll see what we can do now. Okay, so now I'm going to activate the... I think I'm going to start with her, the Sorceress, and I'm going to play the... I want to play the God Crush Them thing again. But to do that, I'm going to need line of sight on this guy, and this is blocked by these 2. So I got to make sure that so we need I got 5 movement points, so let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got line of sight here. What about her? Hard to tell. Maybe not. Maybe I gotta go in here. Yeah, I think here I have no line of sight for sure. Okay, so hope I don't get attacked. We'll see. So I'm gonna roll now again. I'm gonna cast my spell. And that was a success. So I gotta spend another 2 mana point. So I'm not going to be able to cast that spell again this quest. And now I can roll 5 dice against his armor, which is 3. So let's see if I can kill him. And not quite. I only did 2. I only did 3 successes. I want to do a reroll, and I want to take that risk. Why not? It's for free basically. I have so many fortune. I can simply reroll that. So let's do that. Maybe I can kill him. And I did. This time I did. So actually before I could do that. But I'm gonna accept these 2 now. But I have to check. I'm gonna have to check. Okay, if this spell backfires. On a 1 it would have done that, but it didn't happen. So that means the guy is now dead too, and that's the end of the adventure. And I think it took us 3 turns if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, that was pretty good. Wasn't too hard. I mean, that's an easy adventure. At the end of the adventure, you can search dead bodies, and so these are all pretty poor heroes. There's no elite hero or something. So we can roll a die for every one of them. So there were 4. So we're going to roll 4 dice. And for every 4 plus that we roll, we find a coin. And if we're rolling at least 2 6s, we might find something more valuable. Oh, look at that. That is awesome. So that gives us 4 coins. And I think in addition, we get a common item, a random common item, which is not terribly valuable, but still. So I'm going to draw a common object in addition to the money I gained, and that is beer. Awesome. Okay, that's not so great. To the user's courage, +2 to the user's courage during this turn and the next 3 ones. Well, okay. So let's see what the rewards are. If the heroes have accomplished the mission, the merchants will give coins to each hero who was not knocked out. How many? 4 coins. And 1 experience point for every hero. So I'm going to use a common pool for the heroes. So they get 12 points, 15 coins. And 3 go back. So overall, 12 coins for all of them. So we're sitting now on 16 coins, not bad. And now let's read the next step. Does it say where to go or something? No, it doesn't. Well, I guess we have to simply read T1, I guess. The bandits do not achieve their goal, and some are made prisoners by you. You know how to be persuasive, and they acknowledge that Count Researed rewards them for these attacks on the caravans. Rourke and his minions agreed with Researed 1 year ago that they would not attack any travelers heading north. However, they were allowed to assault any caravans heading west or off Vernac, I guess. In addition, Researed had given the gang a manor house within his own lands where they could hide and avoid being pursued by Vernac's soldiers. You take the prisoners to Hart, the governor of Vernac. The Plum mandatory orders the bandits to be hanged in the cathedral square and later summons you to meet him in his chambers. Arthas, the chief of the guard, comes forward to offer you the promised reward. 10 coins. Later, Hart explains the quarrels he has with the northern region and his willingness to tackle the problem of the assaults. He knocks on the oak table in his office before forwarding his request. I promise 10 gold coins if you manage to discover Rourke's lair and end up with that wretch, seizing him and bringing him before our presence. So that brings us to mission 2, and we get another 10 coins, I guess. So we are already kind of rich. So that allows us now to buy some additional equipment. We're going to stay in the village, rest in the inn of Vernek, and that gives us back our fortune. So therefore, maybe it wasn't the best idea to get to spend all the fortune so easily, because it costs money to rest in the village, but to rest in the inn. But still, I think it's not a big deal. So yeah, we're gonna do this resting and the purchase actions and all that in the next video, I guess. So yeah, hope to see you then. Bye.